Good morning out there. Let's make sure we're good to go. Oh, because you're muted, Ryan. Are we good? Are we good? Oh, because you're muted, Ryan. Okay. Alright. Well, I wanted to check to see how the last few streams have done. Let's see. There. We'll go to the studio. I just want to see how the last few streams have done. Check on a couple things. 173 subscribers. Okay. Still moving along. Alright. Hopefully, if when I have a plan, then I get through some stuff at work. If no other work comes up, I'll have a plan and we'll talk about that. So, we're good to go there. So, we're going to click on this and get moving. Good morning, welcome to Coffee and Resales. My name is Ryan. I get stuff from yard sales, garage sales, thrift stores, and similar venues. Try to make a few extra bucks online. Hey, Hourly Flipper. Good to see you. Glad to have you along. It is the Monday before Christmas, and there's a really bright light, and I don't know what to do about it. Let's shade my face. That helps a little bit. Anyway, this morning, got about 5 sales that happened over the weekend. I was out. So, hey, that helped. However that was. Glad to help Hourly Flipper. Glad to be of help. You down in the comments, can't tell you how many Bibles and hymnals I've sold because of you. Glad to be out there. It's a great thing to look for. And actually, something to think about is next time you're at a church sale, ask them if they still use their hymnals and if they're willing to sell them. I haven't run across that situation, but it's in the back of my brain for the next time it happens. And I actually have bought out hymnals, but they were like all in the church library. They're like the old hymnals, and they were all in the church library, and those haven't sold because they were Methodist hymnals. But that's a different story. Anyway, I have a few sales. Got a few finds and some stuff I brought back from my folks to try and see if I can't move some more stuff out of their house, and we'll be going over that a little bit. I don't have everything I got from them because I got to do some looking up. But let's jump on. And no huge sales, but let's jump on what we did get. First up is this is a motor run capacitor. You can't see it, but it is this is actually new in box, old stock. This goes to with air conditioning equipment, that sort of thing. I bought a big batch of them at a yard sale. I think it was last winter. May have been a little bit longer than that. I think I remember it being cold when I bought them. And I must have gotten 20 or so of different types and sold them all between, like this one went for $8, but sold them all between $8 and $20. And they were all $1 a piece. So good new old stock find there. It was like a guy who ran a business out of his garage or something. Morning, Kevin. Good to see you along again as well. Alright, next up is another, let's go low dollar. Here we go. C.S. Lewis books. This is Screw Tape Letters, Grief Observed, and The Great Divorce. This is his non-Narnia stuff. And these 3 went for $9, $10 for these 3 books. So, C.S. Lewis books is not Narnia books. Is no, it wasn't a flux capacitor. It his non-Narnia books sell well in lots, particularly the older they are. So I would say find a price that you're comfortable at. I think I probably picked all these up for $1 a piece. Sold $10 plus shipping, so I made a couple bucks off of these. And sometimes I'll leave them laying around a little too long, so I grab them and they wind up being almost like a death pile stuff. So whatever money you make is actually kind of bonus. So that's C.S. Lewis books. I actually have another stack. I'm probably going to list today. I think it's the same 3 books in just different, smaller format. Is what I'm going to be listing them. All right. Next up, another thing along those same lines. These are Who HQ, who is, who was, where, when, how sorts of things. Kids books. Again, I think I try to get these at $0.25 piece or less. These are 10 of these. 9 of these for $11, which means they move, but you got to get them at the right price to make money on it. So, 1, 2, $2.50, $11. So I made a few bucks off of these. But again, and these tend to be pretty ubiquitous at my thrift store, but I have to make sure I'm not getting them at. I have to get them at $0.25 piece, so I gotta let them roll over before I get them, so I actually know I'm making a little money on it. And my 2 bigger sales I got are Anne Rice Vampire. These are like the Vampire Chronicles books 1 through 6. And so, apologize for the lighting. I don't know how to make that stop. But these are Vampire Chronicles paperbacks 1 through 6. I've never had a lot of success selling Anne Rice books. I think unless you have them, a bunch of them in order, with her series, that's the best way to sell them. Her hardcovers don't sell all that well. Maybe her first editions of her first couple books might do okay. But these 6 went for $20. They were given to me. But it's useful sometimes to know that. That way, the next time I'm at a thrift store or a yard sale and I say, oh, those are the first 6 paperbacks, they're $1 a piece, I know I can move those. So that was handy there. Finally, final sale. Thought these would go for a little bit more, but I don't think these are a little bit older. 2 Warhammer 40,000 books, Orcs and Blood Angels. I think these are older editions, which is why they didn't move as well. $25 for both of these. RPG books, typically, if you recognize the name, tend to sell really well. The older the edition, the less they sell as well, depending. So some of that depends on whether or not they're out of print, and it's the only one that's out there too. So that doesn't necessarily go for vintage D&D stuff. First edition D&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons stuff, that stuff still does pretty good. So that's my sales for this past weekend. Again, like I said, not a bunch, but stuff's moving. I got back in the habit of a few weeks before Thanksgiving, work got so busy I couldn't list. Or I couldn't. The only things I were listing were higher dollar items. I couldn't list my bread and butter stuff. The only time I was putting stuff out is if it basically was going to make me more than $20, which means I didn't list a lot. Things have slowed down a little bit, so I'm trying to get a handful of things listed every day. And so, like I've said before, eBay likes 2 things: stuff that sells and new listings. It really likes new listings that sell quickly, and so and that boosts the rest of your stuff. Like this capacitor, been listed for a year, finally sold. Any of the other stuff, The Warhammer stuff's been sitting since summer, I think. Just listed the Anne Rice stuff. Just listed the C.S. Lewis stuff, and I just listed the Who HQ books, the kids' books. So a lot of my fresh listings are moving. That's been the case for the last couple of weeks. I would have probably, let's say, for every four, I would list 5 things, 2 or 3 would sell, and bring 1 old thing with them almost. So that's kind of how that was working out. So that is the stuff I sold. Now, on to the handful of things I found. Nothing extraordinary. Again, bread and butter stuff. But we'll see what we go from there. Several of it's religious. The 2959 plan. Not sure what this is. I think it's some sort of like devotional aid. And I think I got this listed for about $25-30. So it's clean. This is a binder, but it's clean. There's none of the pages have been used. A lot of good comps on it. So we'll see how that shakes out. This is Death Pile stuff. Shel Silverstein books. Where the Sidewalk Ends and Falling Up. These lot up pretty well for in about the $5 range. One of these is not in real good condition, so I'm curious as if this lot will sell. I think I got this lot up for $15. And it would move quickly if they were both in really good shape. So I grabbed Shel Silverstein books. Regularly show up at my Goodwill. They're $1 a piece because they're kids books. I grab them when I see them if they're in good condition, because I know I can lot them up easily and move them, and they show up regularly enough. Next up is somebody donated a lot of Christian books, and something I'm going to shoot for. This is John MacArthur. He is a Reformed Baptist pastor out of California. Pretty decent theologian and Bible teacher and that sort of stuff. Prolific writer. So individually, his books tend to they're $3 to $4 or $5 a piece. The goal here is to list a stack of his books together for $25, $30. I actually may try that on Facebook Marketplace first and see if there's any bites there, and make it. And sometimes I'll move a little quickly. I'm in some niche groups on Facebook Marketplace, and for theology stuff, for your more reformed and your more conservative theological offers, there's a market. There's actually a Facebook market for it. If you get on some Christian theology sales groups and that sort of thing, reform folks tend to be pretty prolific book buyers. I got a buddy actually here in town. He's had some pretty good success selling. He's got some like old pastors' libraries. That's a good place to get stuff. If you can get your hands on if you have a pastor who's liquidating his library, and the books are reasonable, that's usually a good spot, particularly the more conservative the pastor is, and the more technical and theological and academic his books are. Then you've got a pretty good way to flip, because some of that stuff can really go for a reasonable amount of money. And finally, I went back to Louisiana, where I am from originally. And every time I go, I try to go. My parents give me a box of stuff to get rid of, and some of that stuff is that they had laying around. Justin Wilson cookbooks, yeah. So, Justin Wilson, actually, the accent was fake, but he's funny. Good cook, good television cook, from the, I guess, 80s, late 70s, early in the 80s is when his prime really was. But he would tell stories and cook Cajun dishes. And he has a handful of cookbooks. And looking through a lot of his cookbooks seem to be in that $4 to $8 range. So I got a handful, and they're going to get wadded up and see if I can't flip them. And yeah, so yeah, there's another one here. Justin Will says outdoor cooking with inside help. I can do a slight Cajun accent. It can get really irritating really quick because it's funny. So yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Waterboy was a documentary. If you ever seen the movie Waterboy, Cajuns. I got a little bit of Cajun blood in me, but it's hard to exaggerate Cajuns. It really is. And I mean, great people, but they crazy down there. So, anyway, that's this batch. That's this week, and we will see how everything goes up. I hope you have a good Christmas out there. Hope you get a couple more things sold before Christmas, and to help pay for Christmas, because that's kind of what some of this stuff, a lot of what we do some of this stuff for is, it's people, I don't know, if you're out there and watching, it's like, how can I make a living doing this? You don't. This is extra money. I spend maybe 10 to 15 hours a week doing something, sourcing and doing something like this. About the only way you can really make a living is you have to have a consistent, large source of stuff to really be able to make a living doing it. And you have to have it close enough to you, and there's a handful of other factors. You can hustle and you can try and make it, but a six-figure income, it's probably not going to happen. You got to be able to do some other stuff, I think, sometimes. But if you can get a good source, you can sometimes make it work, but that source also has to last. And so, like right now, I got a Goodwill between my house and my work that I can stop at lunchtime. And if that goes away, oh boy, about half my eBay income is gone. So something to consider if they change their prices, if something else goofy happens. It's that type of thing. We don't know what the postal changes coming up after when Trump gets in office are going to happen, and what that may do to some of the things. That may drastically affect book sales because of shipping costs, because we ship media mail, which is subsidized. I'm not hiding the fact that I think some of my profit, if you profit off of books, some of it may be on the taxpayers now. So something to think about there. Anyway, y'all have a good Christmas. I'll catch you next time. Thanks, Ali Flipper and Kevin Chubb for stopping by and chatting with us. And y'all have a good Christmas.